I have so much advice to give on putting together an amazing activity section for your college application. Hi, I'm Emily. I'm a junior at Yale and US College, soon to be visiting student at Yale University next spring. I also work in college admissions consulting. I can't say where, but it is quite a big international firm. My specialty is helping students build a strong extracurricular profile towards filling out the activity section for the college application. This will be quite a comprehensive guide since I do have so much advice to share, so make sure you watch the video from start to finish to learn all of my tips, strategies, as well as a very helpful writing formula. But there will also be timestamps if you want to skip ahead to whatever part is most relevant for you. So starting off with the basics, so what is the main point of the activities section in the college application? Number one, the activities list gives evidence for your overall story and narrative of your entire application. So what does that mean? For example, my own application story was that I am an intended international relations major who's really passionate about education and equity, as well as gender issues in Malaysia. So my activity list was filled with things from these three different areas, which provided solid evidence to the admissions officer reading my application that I am truly passionate about what I say I'm passionate about, as well as contributing to building that cohesive overall narrative of my college application. Number two, past achievement as an indicator of future achievement. Ultimately, colleges want to accept people who will go on to do successful things under their name. For example, we all know Mark Zuckerberg, who founded Facebook, went to Harvard, which is great marketing for Harvard. So when they're evaluating who to accept, they are also evaluating who will be most likely to be successful in the future and will be a good investment of the resources that will be provided to you when you enter their college. But college admissions officers can't predict the future, so the second best thing they can do is to look at everything you've accomplished so far to try and figure out what you could potentially accomplish in the future. Ultimately, your activities list needs to tell a very quick story of who you are and what you've accomplished in a very quick and snappy way, because admissions officers do a very quick scan through the entire list. Even for myself, I spend at most 5 minutes looking at a list from 1 to 10. And I imagine this number is even smaller for admissions officers because of the sheer volume of applications that they have to go through. So you need to quickly catch your attention and be memorable, especially if you're looking to apply for very competitive schools, which are getting harder and harder to get into every single year. So with that being said, what does the ideal activity list look like? I know everyone talks about having a big spike or a few sharp focus areas in your overall application as well as your activities list. So for example, if your application story is about geography, history, and music, ideally, your activities will mostly be, if not all be, within these three areas. But I personally believe that that is not the only way. For all of my well-rounded people out there who are just interested in all sorts of things, I think that's okay. I've personally seen some lists that are more well-rounded and there's not that sharp of a spike in one area, and that's still impressive. But I would say that this is only possible if you excel in all of the different areas that you're interested in. This is because without a spike, it's harder for admissions officers to see what area you can bring a unique contribution to the community to. So if you excel in all of your different interest areas, this makes a stronger case for yourself. This is definitely much more harder to accomplish compared to if you just focus on excelling in a few different interest areas or one interest area alone. Now I'm going to be sharing with you my writing formula as well as some tips and strategies of how to fill out the activity description as well as the overall activity list. So starting off with my writing formula for the individual activity descriptions, you're going to summarize every single thing you did in this activity into 3 points, and that will be 3 points of your accomplishments, your impact, as well as your outcomes. Accomplishment, impact, outcomes. Drill these 3 words into your mind when you're writing your activities list. Now that you have your 3 points, instead of writing them out into 3 sentences, you're going to write them out into one very long sentence with each point separated by a semicolon to really maximize that space because of the very small character count. So what does that exactly look like? I'm going to share with you an example from my own activities list. So for one of my activities, which was co-founding a social enterprise in the education sector, this is how I wrote my activities list description. Collected 2,500 plus books in 2 months, semicolon. Built 5 community libraries in Selangor, which is a state in Malaysia, for 200 plus underprivileged students, semicolon. Winner of Youth Leadership Academy 2018, full stop. I squeezed 3 points of my accomplishments, outcomes, and impacts into one long sentence, and that was exactly 150 characters. Very quick, very snappy, to the point, explaining exactly what I did, what I accomplished. Now the 3-point guideline is only for the Common App application because of the very restrictive word limit, but for other applications like the Coalition application, which allows more characters, you can definitely include more points about each activity. Some general writing tips: use action-oriented verbs. Some of my favorites are organized, managed, initiated, so very strong words. You can also shorten words, but I would say only do this for words that are commonly shortened anyway. For example, approximately to a prox with a period, with to w with a slash, 2 times to 2x. And definitely the golden rule is to quantify impact whatever you can. Instead of saying, I helped a lot of people, specify how many people did you help. Improve by how many percent, growth by how many percent, increase members of my club from this to this number. That really helps the admissions officers evaluate just how much you've accomplished in each activity. Another small hack is that you can squeeze in some information into the position as well as the organization name for each activity. Okay, let's say you were the youngest ever board member for a particular organization. So you can put board member, bracket, youngest ever board member, close bracket, within the position itself, but definitely don't overuse this too much. So you've written out the descriptions for each of your activities. How do you organize them? I know people generally say to organize by strongest or most important activities first, and then you go in a descending order. But I've actually heard a lot of differing opinions about this. There are 3 ways to organize your list. Number 1 is by order of importance, or how impressive or strong an activity is. Number 2 is according to chronological order, so that would be most recent to least recent. And number 3, which is my personal favorite, according to profile theme. So let's say your themes in order of importance are computer science, music, and history. So to organize by theme would mean to group all of your computer science activities at the top, followed by your music activities, and then your history activities, and any other activities that doesn't fall within this area would go at the very bottom. I think this is great because it helps admissions officers clearly see all of your accomplishments within a particular area, and this also helps highlight your themes very clearly. However, you should definitely just pick what makes most sense for the story that you're trying to tell in your application. One thing you definitely need to know is to use the additional information section. I think this section is so underutilized because there's so much information that you can put that will help your application. So for example, if you have any activities in your top 10 that you want to expand more, like for example, more awards or more accomplishments within the activity, put that in the additional information section. If you have any strong activities that didn't make to your top 10, put that in the information section. Now I'm going to talk about some frequently asked questions. Can I include everyday hobbies or things that I do for fun in my personal time? Yes, you definitely can, but I would only recommend this if you have something concrete to certify your involvement in this area. For example, if you're really into cooking, go attend a mini cooking class. Or if you're really into yoga, consider getting certified as a yoga instructor. But if you're applying this year and you're at a point where it's not possible to do that anymore, I think it's fine to just include it in your application, and you definitely should include it in your application if it's something that's really meaningful to you and something that you really care about. Should I put in activities that I've only recently just joined? Yes, you can definitely do that. So in your activities description for this activity, make sure to include what you've done for the activity so far, as well as what you plan to do or what is going to happen within this activity in the future. One thing that I want to clarify is that family obligations are counted as extracurricular activities. For example, if you have to take care of a sick family member, or care for your grandparents who need additional help, or even help out at your mom or dad's small business, that counts. And these things usually take up a lot of time. It also helps admissions officers contextualize your achievements. It's much more impressive if you tell me that you had to care for your sick grandfather every single day and you won a gold medal in chess. If you accomplish something within this additional circumstance or additional constraint, it makes your accomplishment even more impressive. I know everyone's situation can be quite different and unique, so if you have any questions about how to fill out the activities list, please leave them in the comment section below and I will try my best to answer them. I have another video sharing my story of how I got to Yale in US, which had around a 4.5% admissions rate the year that I applied, even though I failed math in high school and I didn't do that great for my SAT, especially as an international student. So if grades or academics are a concern for you, definitely go and check that out. I highly recommend filling out your activities list in a separate spreadsheet before you fill it out in the actual common application. Doing so makes it much easier to make edits as well as keep track of what your overall list looks like. I've put together a really nice spreadsheet where you can do that. Some very useful features such as a character count for all the different sections of limits, as well as an additional column where you can list out the themes for each activity to keep track of the overall narrative and make sure it makes sense. Once you've finalized your list in the spreadsheet, you can just copy everything into the common app and then submit your application. You can find a link to the spreadsheet in the description box below. Wow! That was so much information. This is the first of many college application videos to come. I'm really passionate about demystifying the college application process. I think back to when I applied, especially as an international applicant. I was just in a state of perpetual confusion and struggling and wanting to give up every step of the way. I don't want you to go through that, so I'm gonna help you the best that I can. So today I've shared a general overview of the best practices, strategies, as well as my writing formula to put together the best activity section for your college application. I know we are in the thick of college application season for those who are applying this year, so all the best. You are so close, almost there. We're all gonna make it through. All the best, you got this. Bye!